This video is brought to you by Maypen Educational Centre, catering to evening CSEC classes and chess classes. Call 876-337-7374 or 876-775-6692. We got you covered preparing for exams. Andy Gone Nuts, 100% guaranteed fresh coconut water delivered straight to your door. Call 876-309-6128. That's 876-309-6128. Refreshing and affordable. For more information, follow them on Instagram at Andy Gone Nuts. Truly refreshing. And Crumble by Mrs. C. Old English fudge and other delectable sweet treats. Call or WhatsApp 876-586-0471. That's 876-586-0471. Hello everyone, I'm Simon Preston and welcome to Sports City. Thank you so much for tuning into another video on this channel, and I'm pleased to have as a guest with us today none other than Jamaica's assistant coach of the men's lacrosse team, Mark Wilson. How you doing, Mark? Hope you're doing well.
I'm well, thank you, Simon. And I apologize in advance. We're under a little construction here as the school year is getting started at my high school. So, of course, they were quiet until we got started, but I'm sure we'll be able to battle through it.
I understand. It's great to catch up with you, especially after the summer. How are things, has it calmed down, especially since the summer in Colombia and Maryland and everything that happened?
It's probably only calmed down from a standpoint of lacrosse itself on the field. But other things are going on behind the scenes as we're getting ready for the big World Championships in June. A lot of just communication with the players and staff and starting to build some fundraising efforts and things of that nature. So a lot of fun stuff going on behind the scenes.
Great. Sounds good. Before we get into the big summer ahead next year for us, let's talk a little bit about your background, in lacrosse. Firstly, of course, tell me a bit about your background, your family, where you grew up, and also growing up in a Jamaican household.
Sure. Yeah. So I'm from New Jersey in the States. My father was born in Jamaica, the man from Manchester, also spent some time in Kingston before immigrating to the United States, where he actually moved from Jamaica to Portland, Maine in the middle of the winter. So it was a tough transition for him and his brothers. But, in true Jamaican spirit, they persevered. I grew up in New Jersey. In central New Jersey, Somerset County, which is, probably not the most well-known hotbed for lacrosse, but it is a very competitive lacrosse area with high schools like Bridgewater High School, which is a legendary school, 100 Central, Ridge, Montgomery, Pingree, Lawrenceville School is in our area. So there's a lot of really high-powered lacrosse. My high school, Hillsborough, was not one of those at the time. My class actually started the program back in 1989. A group of us got together and sort of petitioned the school board to get funding for a lacrosse program. So by my junior year, we had a JV and a freshman team. And then my senior year, we had a varsity team, which we won one game. So it was an interesting experience getting something started, but, kind of really interesting foreshadowing for what's now. And I actually probably was the only lacrosse player, or my teammates and I were the only lacrosse players in New Jersey to have a head coach who actually had some Jamaican background. He had dreadlocks when he was coaching us at the time. And, just a random coincidence that, he had a pet dog, which was named Nesta, which after Bob Marley's middle name. So, right from the beginning, there was Jamaica in my lacrosse, which was pretty interesting. And then I moved on to college. I went to Lehigh University and walked on because, coming from my school at that time, we didn't have a lot of recruiting interest. So I walked on and was lucky enough to make the team and have a nice 4-year career playing lacrosse there. So that was kind of how it all got started.
Wow, quite a journey it has been. In terms of like growing up, would you say like you were enriched in that Jamaican culture from early, the food, the music, everything growing up?
So it's interesting. What we would do every so often, we'd go up to visit my grandfather in Portland, Maine, and you know that was when we really would get the influence, and he'd make sure that we'd try foods, and you know, being typical little American kids, we'd be resistant, and then we'd try it, and we'd go, oh, I like this. This is good. So that has transpired into, I have a love for cooking as well. So that's transpired into me making sure that I have a great beef patty recipe and things of that nature to kind of like, keep that going with my kids, pass the culture down.
Yes, and for those that are privileged to follow you on Instagram, would see the Buju Banton music.
Oh yes, absolutely, reggae every day.
Quite a journey that was for you. And in terms of you growing up and being an athlete, were you exposed to lacrosse first, or you played a little bit of basketball and other sports that were around you in that time?
I was all over the map sports wise. Just about every kid in the States plays a little league baseball and plays a little youth soccer. And I did those things. My dad was a big track guy, of course, and tried to expose us to that. None of us took to it. I played some hockey, actually, both street hockey and ice hockey. Definitely a little basketball in there, and in football was, I thought I was going to be a football player. Thought that would be my course, but things diverged in high school.
Wow. And the first time that you held a lacrosse stick in your hand, do you remember that moment, or who introduced the game to you or say, hey, try this?
I absolutely do. So one of my friend's fathers took us to a Philadelphia Wings indoor game, and that's what got us really interested in it. So then, a bunch of us went and purchased sticks. And after we purchased the sticks, we all went out in the backyard and we're trying to figure out how to use them and throw around. And of course, I was the worst. I was the worst player of all of them. So, I decided to, I'm not going to be the worst. So I actually practiced probably harder than anybody that had picked it up in my friend group. And next thing you know, I got pretty good at it. So I was sort of motivated by poor play early on.
And in terms of the position that you played in the field, did you experiment a bit as well? Attack, defense, and goal? Did you experiment there?
Yeah, that was quite a journey as well. So I was a goalie to start out, which I think was really formative in what was to come later as far as coaching, because, as a goalie, you kind of see the play all the way out and all the way down the field and have to be kind of more in tune with what the defense is doing. So I learned the game as a goalie with a goalie stick. But I was always interested in playing defense. So like as a reward for playing goalie, my coach would let me play a little bit of defense if the games got, out of whack. That paid dividends later because I made the team at Lehigh as a goalie in the beginning of my freshman year, but really didn't have the aptitude and was sort of growing into a body that was more geared towards defense. So they gave me the opportunity to try defense in the spring. And, I just took off from there and became a defender and played most of my career as a long stick midfielder at Lehigh.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's really interesting. And after that experience in high school and college, did you say, I would like to try this game perhaps as a coach? Did that come to your mind after that time?
It really didn't. I walked away from Lehigh like that was a fun experience and kind of moved on and was living near home in Hillsborough, and they had started a youth program at that point, and they were really lacking for coaches. So a couple of the gentlemen that were running the youth program sort of recruited me to help out. I started doing that, and that completely changed my perspective on what I wanted to do career-wise. I was sort of pursuing a career in business at that point, and he sort of caught the bug to coach, and then I started playing again a little bit. And at that point, I said, "This is what I want to do." So I changed careers to teach and coach, and haven't looked back.
And the rest is history from
That's
there.
it.
Now, in relation, when did you first hear that Jamaica had a lacrosse team, or that Jamaica lacrosse was being played on the island? When did you first hear about it?
I didn't. I had heard. So my team that I was coaching in high school in like the 2010s, 20 through like 2015, we did a few different fundraiser things for teams that were picking up lacrosse around the world. We actually sent some equipment to Uganda and some other things. But I really hadn't heard about Jamaica until about 2016, 2017. And then started researching it a little bit once I had heard about it. But really what got me involved was one of the assistant coaches, Errol Wilson, no relation. We don't think we might be related. He was named the head coach of the first World Games team. And as a Lehigh assistant, I had a relationship with him because I'd been going and coaching at camps at Lehigh in the summer. And so when I heard he was named, I just called him out of the blue. I said, Errol, congratulations. Is there anything I can do to help? This is wonderful that Jamaica's, has a program and is moving forward with this. I'm thinking like, maybe he'll need me to fundraise or sell some T-shirts or something like that. And he says, honestly, I'm building a staff. Would you like to coach? I said, absolutely. And for a second, I was like, maybe I'll try out. But then I thought better of it when I saw how the young guys were flying around the field at our first tryout. So, that's kind of how I got into it. 2017 with Errol, and we did a tryout at Lehigh. We had over 70 guys out there trying out for the program, and that funneled into the final 23 guys that ended up going to Netanya, Israel for the 2018 World Championships.
And that experience, how did it feel being part of history, Jamaica's first ever appearance at a lacrosse world championship? And it's a senior one as well, and a men's championship. That experience in Israel, what was that like?
Amazing. People always ask you when you're doing things like, what is your why? And sometimes you don't really know it until you're in the midst of it. But having the opportunity to, represent my heritage and the place of my father's birth in that way was really a moving experience, and continues to be, a moving and inspiring experience. It's a very unique part of my lacrosse journey. Obviously here in the United States, lacrosse is a game that, the Native Americans, the Haudenosaunee, it's part of their culture, part of their religion, and something that they developed over thousands of years. But it's been sort of appropriated by, the American culture, and it's, sort of evolved from this kind of prep school sport, which not a lot of people that look like us play, to what it is worldwide now. And having this opportunity to coach, a group of players that look like me, that share our culture, we have that common bond. It's a very, very unique and rewarding experience in this whole sports journey. So, it's an awesome thing to be doing.
And of course, as you're aware, after that experience in Israel, you saw the number of high schools on the island entering high school leagues, both, for the men and women leagues as well on the island. That must give encouragement as well as you try to grow the talent pool. And also, as you said in an interview on another platform, a fledgling program on the island.
Yes, absolutely. And I think that because of the leadership that we have there, Mr. Hutchinson, Mr. Clark, where it is right now compared to probably what it'll be in 10 years, it's going to be amazing. Lacrosse is something, it's a very interesting sport because it has a culture behind it. It has a brotherhood behind it. And, those aspects really make people love it and cling to it and want to promote it. And I think that as these players that are coming through the program now, move into adulthood and are playing at a higher level, it's just going to trickle down as they begin coaching, the kids coming up after them. So, the program is definitely going in the right direction. And I think the fact that we're able to compete at a high level on the world stage is only going to foster that growth.
And you've been there from 2018 with the team. Well, how would you say we've grown in that 4-year period of time? Would you say defensively, which has been our biggest growth, or offensively, or it's just been an all-around project, both on and off the field?
I think it's been an all-around project, and I think that the one of the key things is that now that it's more well known, we have many more players seeking us out to play with us, from starting with players from the island, players from United States, players from Canada. We had a player come from England. And that's only going to grow as more people are just simply aware of what we're doing, because there are a great number of players with Jamaican heritage playing throughout the diaspora. It's a type of sport that attracts the type of athletes that play other sports in Jamaica, and there's no doubt that we're going to keep producing quality lacrosse players.
And just so the viewers can be aware, we had a player on our roster over in Colombia, in Marcus Minichella, that actually plays box lacrosse.
Yes.
Does it help when someone plays box lacrosse and transfers that to the field lacrosse?
Absolutely. So, box lacrosse players, they have to, for those that aren't aware, box lacrosse is an indoor version of lacrosse played in a hockey rink with smaller goals. A typical outdoor lacrosse goal is like 6x6, whereas the box goal is 4x4. So you have to be much more precise with your shooting, and you have to, have a very high level of stick skill, and then it's also quite physical. So, especially because we compete against, the Haudenosaunee and the Canadians, who play a lot more box lacrosse. Even, the Czechs, the Finns, the Swedes, they play a lot of box lacrosse too. So it's important for us to incorporate those kind of players into our World Championship field teams. And then even more importantly, going forward, as lacrosse enters the Olympics and it's played in the sixes format, the sixes format really lends itself to the style of play, the up and down style of play of box lacrosse. So, and very high offensive powered lacrosse. So, players like Marcus, who had probably the best goal of the tournament in Colombia, where he shot the ball and then the goalie tipped it, and he was so skilled that in the air he was able to dive, pick the ball out of the air above the goalie's stick, and then score. Only box lacrosse players make plays like that. So it's going to be great to have guys like that involved.
That's absolutely amazing. And when you bear in mind, the trip to Colombia, which was 4 years on from Israel, what was it like, seeing familiar faces that were in Israel, a couple of young guys, that mix between the experience and the youth? Did you feel there was good synergy, good chemistry within the camp?
Yeah, I think we're developing a great culture around our team, a great dedication to the process. We're developing a great spirit amongst our guys, and their belief in what they're doing and why they're doing it. So as we're adding new guys, if there's already some of those things just become continuous as far as how they adapt to the type of team that we want to have in an environment. So it's great to have veterans like a Nate McPeak, anchoring the thing. But then it was awesome to have rookies come in like a Ty Tom, like super exciting players that can do some special things. You mix in those guys like Goran Murray on defense, veteran, former All-American, and with like a Tony Diallo, who's like a current awesome college player. So, it was a lot of fun seeing that come together.
And speaking about Nate and his experience, having played at the last World Championship team, how much do you think it would have been a boost for Tyrese Finley to play and learn alongside him, and like John Edwards to learn from you and Brian, the guys from the island, getting the experience to travel and just being and mingling around everybody?
Oh yeah, and actually that is great. I mean, I definitely think everyone benefits. Those guys benefit from that, but it's also a two-way street. Tyrese is bringing, so much energy and spirit from the island, and, leading some of our warm-ups and things of that nature. Guys like that who are maybe not the most talented players when they get to that environment, but they are leaders and hugely important players in the environment that they come from. So they come into it with a different type of swagger than someone who, is just a rookie player. They're not coming in like rookies. They're coming in like guys that know they need to contribute to what's going on the field, in the locker room, and on the sideline. So, it's a two-way street with that, and it's great having them as a part of it.
And you know what's interesting as well, Mark? You can turn on the TV now in Jamaica. You turn on one of the American stations, and you see PLL games playing. You see
Right.
some box games playing. So it's more accessible to persons on the island to know more about the game, and that can only bode well for the future.
Absolutely. I mean, you can probably watch a lot more lacrosse in Jamaica right now than I could as a kid in New Jersey, in the middle of an area that had a lot of lacrosse. Like, it's just so much more in popular culture in general and in the media. And then, we have a WhatsApp chat group with a lot of the players that are in the U21 program, on the island. And there's constant sharing of YouTube videos, both game footage, instructional stuff, your videos here, they love and share. And so there's so much information sharing going on that I feel these players, their learning curve is going to be much accelerated in a greater fashion than players in the past.
And you spoke about the U21s over in Ireland creating history, finishing ninth overall, a top 10 finish for Jamaica.
Yeah.
Tell me about that experience that you had over in Europe.
That was really incredible, to see some of the best young players in the world and see our guys be able to compete in that environment and be right there, a few goals away from a couple of big wins and big upsets, and then also having some exciting games where we won and played well. It was a roller coaster of an event from highs and lows. It started with us, really kind of having a party before the opening ceremony on the field with all the other teams, everyone dancing and enjoying each other, and that kind of like showing the full spirit of what the games are supposed to be all about as far as camaraderie, but also, the fierceness of the competition coming into it as well once we all got on the field. And then that mutual respect when it was all over, and us knowing that we belong in the upper echelon of that group. It was a great feeling.
And does it also give encouragement as well that Jamaica went toe to toe with Japan and England, teams that are in the upper echelon of the sport?
Absolutely. We know that that we're right there, and we know that it's a process, and it really is about the process more than the results. The results will come as we continue to stay focused on the things that we know are going to make us successful. And like I said, in the moment, probably it was hard to accept some of those losses, but in retrospect, looking at the wins and where we placed, it's a great accomplishment, given that we have not been a part of this process for very long.
Quite an experience it was. And how proud are you of some of the guys from the island that recently got scholarships to go to California for university, the likes of Ramesh Jones and Joel Sibawan? A lot of these guys getting opportunities to play the game abroad.
No, it's great. They're carrying on the legacy started by guys like Donahue Simpson. Sammy Henry's already over here playing. It's not a surprise that guys are getting the opportunity. They have the athleticism, they have the skill, and they're capable academically to come do capable, if not on upper echelon academically. Some of them, to do what they need to do to be scholar athletes here in the United States. And those guys getting opportunities like that, if they can take advantage of them, is, that's something that's just going to continue to funnel the process forward on the island.
And I'm sure a lot of guys from the U21 basically held up their hand and say, listen, I deserve to be on that plane to San Diego next year. So team selection will be really tough next year. This
is going to be the most competitive tryout thus far. Like you said, especially mixing in the younger guys, some of the older guys, even some of the ones that didn't participate in Colombia will be coming back and entering this part of the process. So there definitely will be some very hard decisions to make, but I will have to tell you that that is the exact position that we want to be in as coaches. We want to have a hard conversation with somebody that just didn't quite make it, because that means somebody excellent is going to be traveling. So, again, it's going to be difficult because we have great relationships with all of these guys. But I think everybody understands that, our goal is to put the best team on the field and give ourselves the best chance to represent Jamaica in the World Championships.
Do you know as yet, Mark, if it's a 20-player roster for the World Championship 23? Do you know the exact number?
I believe it's going to be 23 again. But again, you know how World Lacrosse goes. They're always refining their always refining the process and making sure that it continues to be a great product, which it has been.
Yeah, absolutely. It certainly has every 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
And do you know if perhaps there might be plans for you to come to the island, take a look at the talent, and perhaps see the progression of how the game is going?
Absolutely. You know, I expect to be there between Christmas and New Year's this year. Hopefully we're going to have, you know, both a tryout and then also hopefully doing some clinics. As you probably know, I went right before pandemic. I got down to do a clinic in Kingston, that was an amazing day, a really cool opportunity where I did both a coach's clinic, and then we took the coaches out on the field and ran through some of the stuff that we had practiced with them, with the players. And, you know, and then years later, I'm meeting some of those players in person to travel to Ireland with them. So, you know, it all comes full circle, and that's how it's supposed to work, right? Like, you know, we need to make sure that we're continuing to lay the groundwork for great skills training and development of lacrosse on the island so that more and more players have the opportunity to represent the country on the world stage.
Yeah, and you know, Mark, when you talk to a lot of these guys, you know, they set a high bar, you know, in terms of expectations and their targets. So many guys were saying they want to go to San Diego and get a medal. You know, that's certainly the mentality, the winning mentality that, you know,
Yep.
all players should have.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's our goal as coaches as well. You know, we know that the competition will be fierce, and making the jump from being in the top 10 to being a medal round team is another hurdle. And you're not going to get there without winning a big game that somebody didn't expect you to win. But, you know, that's sports. That's the way you make an advance. You don't break through without breaking through. So that's what our goal is to do.
Yeah. Well, Jamaica has made history along the way through, so the journey continues, you know.
That's it.
Yeah, and what a better place, you know, San Diego, you know, has a huge Jamaican diaspora, so you can
Yes.
get the supports to be great.
Yeah, I think we'll have a great support out there. I think people are already talking about it. I think it's going to be a really good trip for us.
Definitely exciting times to look forward to. Mark, thank you very much for your time. I really, really appreciate it. Let's stay in touch, and I know that, you know, the team is going to only grow from strength to strength.
Definitely. And thank you. Like, we really appreciate your coverage and information and educating people on the game. You know, please keep it going because it's much appreciated.
Thank you very